Nicole and Kristen, you are meeting each other for the first time, I think, unless you two got together knowing that you were going to be live today.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
did?
Yeah.
You did. Oh, that's fun. It's never required. I don't. So was that the first time that you met each other?
Mhm. Yep.
Wow. And goodness, you were in the midst of moving, Nicole, or had you landed?
Kristen and I just had kind of a quick touch base Zoom last week just to kind of get to know each other before we were on this call.
Oh, fantastic. And Nicole, you just asked me, oh, it was Kitty Norton. That could be how I first found out about you or saw you on a feed on LinkedIn land, and thought, oh, I kind of jump up and down and go, hey, 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 until someone calls on me, and then I'm like, oh, it would be great if, but I know that I've seen you. You're not when you come on the screen, you're not a stranger to me because
Oh,
you've been on
awesome. Thank
someone
you.
else's
Okay,
show.
I'll let you go. Thank you.
Jean, were you talking to a motivational listener, D. Scott Smith?
I just might have been. I'm like, you can't see me? He's like, oh, no. There you are.
Oh, fantastic. It works out. Just throwing out that phone number, and
Yeah,
he's
thank
just,
you.
he's keeping everything going and bringing everybody in. Jean, did you have any opportunity in the past to meet Nicole or Kristen?
No.
Well, here they are. And that's real cactus in the background. She doesn't have like a fake background, Nicole. But are you on the East Coast, Jean?
I am. Yes.
Okay. Well, Nicole was just there, living there, but just for this show, she decided, hey, why not?
Needed to change the scenery.
We needed someone in different time zones and different climates. So Kristen and Jean and Nicole. Nicole, you got in line first. You were in the queue first. So Nicole, somebody's building an office for you or redesigning part of this home or something. Tell us about that and anything else you want to say.
Well, thanks for inviting me to join this group. I'm very excited. I am, we were 17 years in New Jersey raising our children. And then my husband retired and we moved to Arizona because it's close enough to San Diego where he grew up, but not in California. And we have a nice buffer between family, which is what we need. So, no, it's all good.
We are live.
No, I know. It's okay. No, we love our family, but it's nice to have your own space. So we are in Tucson, Arizona. It's a lovely space. We have one child at University of Arizona, and it's a wonderful college town. It's very artsy. It's also like a gastronomy World Heritage gastronomy site. So Dr. Andrew Weil just opened True Food Kitchen here. He's just a giant in the whole wellness, healthy space. So we're having a lot of fun discovering Tucson. There's 5 mountain ranges. I have one mountain range right outside my backyard, and we are loving it here. And I wrote the book Diagnosis Dementia after a long deal with my mother dealing with dementia, my stepmother with aphasia, my dad with normal pressure hydrocephalus, having 3 aging parents and 5 children to manage in 6 different states. And then the actual weird bonus of moving to Arizona is I didn't realize Arizona is the fastest growing state in the nation for Alzheimer's and dementia related diseases because of the snowbirds. So I'm in ground zero for dementia, which is kind of, fortunate, but unfortunate. But I'm doing speaking engagements in New York, New Jersey, Iowa, Arizona, and trying just to get the word out about my book and dementia.
Wow. Jean, you are on the East Coast. She just moved from New Jersey. I got to be in New Jersey for a week, the month before shutdowns. The month before. And we went there with our kids, and my daughter said, "Should we wear masks on the airplane? Because people are talking about this thing." And we all shrugged. And we went there and looked across the inky black Hudson River at the lights and would travel back and forth by ferry. And I got onto a light rail. Am I saying the right thing? A light rail for the first time so I could go to Liberty Park and all by myself. I just, I'm in my 60s now and I'm going to do it by myself. So everyone else was tired from all the walking we had done around Manhattan. And so I just wanted to go, but it was great. So Jean, where on the East Coast are you?
In Virginia Beach.
Oh, nice.
And that's what state?
Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah, we have a Washington County, and they called it the Washington Zoo, and it's in Oregon, and I think they kind of just made it a smaller sign, and now it's just like the Portland Zoo or something. But at first they were Washington County, Washington Zoo. If you've lived long enough, everything has changed names, and you're always amazed going, "Oh, the exact same hardware store is still there. I can't believe it." But everything else has changed. Jean, I wanted you to come because, well, you said yes. And I got to know you. I don't know if LinkedIn sent me a little, "Hey, you ought to know this person," and I clicked, or if I saw you amongst a group of comments and thought, I would like to know what is her motivation, or what I always say, what is your path to this point? But maybe you've got a different way of saying it. Why are you here?
Well, so you probably noticed me because I look at your engagements like this every week, because I think it's really interesting, the people that you get on.
They're fascinating. Yeah. That's you too now.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. And I thanked you. Yeah. It's like, oh, thanks for making a comment. So yay.
It's very interesting because I am, I'm very interested in people, and everybody has a different take to caring for our seniors, whether it's somebody that has been in your family like you, Nicole, or I don't know if that's your case too, Kristen, or if you've been working in the industry. So I was an activities director for 5 years for every level of care. I did independent, I did assisted, I did memory care, and I just fell in love with the stories. I fell in love with the families. It's hard to work in that industry in any of those levels of care for any amount of time and not just, you either love it or you don't. It's either it either fits you or it doesn't. And it really fit me. And so I have a background in photojournalism, so I'm used to telling stories, right? Wow. And so I just kind of married those two together to make my copywriting business so that I can, touch base with clients that have people that they really need to get their stories out, right? And, they need to make a connection with all different aspects of the aging community. And so I've just taken my love of stories and words and people and put them all together. And I really want to see the different organizations that care for the aging community succeed. I want to see them reach their goals. I want to see them provide the best care. And so I have, really devoted my skills set to making that happen.
for me, it's just not enough to have someone go, here's my product and it does these things for you and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it works on maybe a TV commercial and I happen to notice a thing at the store, but it has to be very temporary. It has to be just it's like, this is a better, Band-Aid or something. But if you're talking about me going to visit someone that I love, or maybe someone I've not gotten along with very well, but has fallen to me to make sure that they're in a good space for their abilities and for what they want to do, whether I look forward to go seeing them or I'm kind of in trepidation sometimes because it's been dicey through the years. Happens to every family. There's just difficulties, and then there's the one that you're just, oh, can anybody take care of them as good as I do? It sounds like you're helping those people to become real and be fleshed out and be trusted. And I know I talked to a person who goes in and out of a lot of assisted living, memory care, independent, and then those ones that are finding new spaces as far as how can we live healthfully together. This person goes in and out with music. And I said, okay,
That's
now that
powerful.
we're face to face, what are the really good places? Because we might need it for a family member. Oh boy, I got, it was the chunk. We went down all the way to the level of, I love even the maintenance person is so personable with these people. The person who owns the place is there almost every time that I'm doing music with the people. And then I see the people calling out to them by name, or, I see the way they interact. Oh, I would recommend that place. And I'm like, yeah, I got in on the inside. It sounds like you bring that sort of thing to people. But how did you transition from, activities director? I can envision that. How did you transition, or why? To being a copyright person for multiple places?
So there's never one reason, right? There's a couple. I needed to be home during the pandemic because I do still have, well, one of my children has graduated since then, but I had two kids still at home. So it was really nice to be home and be able to work from home, to be accessible for them, But so I love the one-on-one. I love connecting with my families, right? With my residents. But I really wanted to have a little bit more of an impact because, again, as you know, Nicole, the information that people can make all the difference. Like when they're educated, when you can give them the resources that they need to make those good choices, right? It's huge. So I really thought that, writing insightful blogs, trying to get information in people's hands, and with the technology that you have today, you can affect, thousands of people with the click of a button. If you can give good information and really, lift people up to make the best choices for their family possible. So I wanted to take, the information that I had collected, right? We all collect information every day, right? And I wanted to present that to as many people as possible. And I really found that I could do that better through writing, through reaching out online, than being there with my residents. As much as I loved that, I just thought that being at home, I could do both of those things. I could try and reach more people, help more people, and still be there for my family.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Jean, you haven't met Kristen yet. I got to do a Zoom with her because sometimes I just tell people, I'm kind of opposite. Come on my show first, and then we'll talk more if you feel like I need to see more, or if sometimes I've even said, oh, come back on another show because there's a whole half of you, a whole half that of your endeavors and your innovations and your expertise that just we didn't have time to touch on that. But with Kristen, I did it in the right order, the natural, normal order. I got to know her first. And Kristen, I loved it. I loved that you showed me why and what, and that we even started talking about how much more Audivi. Do you say Audivi?
I say ought to be.
Audivi. Audivi. It ought to be Audivi. There we
Sure.
go. I made a commercial for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
If you're looking for such and such.
That was clever.
That is my cue to go, and just say, Kristen, tell us all about yourself.
Well, I started ought to be, which is Latin for I heard, and that's the way I pronounce it, whether that's right or not. Based on my experience taking care of my mom who had dementia. And I became her primary caregiver after my father died. And she'd come over every day. I had been working in international public health, but I quit that job to help get her settled. And I became really interested in what I call the memory paradox of how an individual with Alzheimer's has virtually no short-term memory, but often have really vivid long-term memories that they often repeat all the time. And I came to see that in the case of my mom, she not only liked repeating them, she really liked hearing them and experiencing them again and again. So that is the business that I ended up starting. I recorded the stories for her and put them together with a photo on a website, and she happened to then see it. And she didn't do what we would do, which is like, oh my gosh, do I really sound like that? Instead, she was completely captivated and acting out her stories and finishing her sentences. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's usually so confused. But if I can keep her memories close and accessible for her, it is this touchstone to the past. And she's like, oh, I know who I am and where I am. And I love my time in Paris and when I was at boarding school. And so that ended up being the app that I've now created, is to let people save audio visual. It's all optimized for dementia to be able to serve for the individual with dementia. But it creates it helps save an immersive audio visual trip down memory lane. And it's an app that does that. And then I'm trying to figure out how to, help, for example, Jean, activities groups do that with their clients, or I go to caregiver support groups and, people who have a mother or daughter or partner who's recently diagnosed, help them start to save those memories to create that anchor and touchstone to the past for their loved one.
Wow. Of all that you said, what I kind of grabbed onto was that it's a photograph rather than her seeing herself talking, which is more information to have to deal with while you're listening. And I thought that is just, to open a photograph book and see the same photograph there's something about familial that starts when we're tiny and taking in information, and it's not overwhelming. But
Yeah.
she was listening to her own voice and going, oh yes, and this. And we walked down the street and you're listening to her interacting with herself as if she's living a memory, which we do in those times when we can just recall something that we want to recall that is delightful. Oh, I love that. I can see some people going, "Who is that person and why is she talking to me?" Or almost being frightened of younger me. I don't look like that now, or but a familiar photograph of themselves is just, yes, there I am again, or there she is again, or she looks beautiful if they've disassociated with. Oh, I love it. I
So
love
I've
it.
had a lot of clients who, I mean, it's really interesting. I'd love to do real academic research on this. What is it like for a person with dementia to hear their own voice tell their stories? Because I've had a bunch of clients who have said things like, she had a white cat, I had a white cat. Or one guy said to me, how did they get that out of him? But like clearly he knew that he loved that story. So there's always this really close comfort in hearing those stories. But I'm not 100% sure whether they know it's their voice telling the story, but they'll finish the sentences. And they, as one person said, yeah, I mean, sometimes I try to like finish my father's stories because he repeats them all the time. He's always like, no, not like that. Like you can't tell the story for them, but they know that story and they tell it the same way every time. They also say, for the Alzheimer's brain, that age of 14 to 24 is the real gold mine of the experiences that we hold on to for the longest, are the most formative and are the most impactful and are the stickiest. So I always start back then. And for my mom, that was certainly true. She raised 5 kids. She had this incredible career. She got married. None of that survived. But like her years at boarding school, oh, she couldn't talk enough about that. That early stuff.
I experienced the same thing with my grandmother. Grandpa was keeping things going, but he didn't wake up that morning, and she had it in enough to make a phone call to some number that was in her mind to say, the man won't answer me. The man won't get up. And that person knew the address and got there. Family was called. And here I am, I don't know, late 20s, maybe then. I had no idea about how to interact with someone. And what stayed with her was not, the man. Where is the man? They got married she was 26. I believe he was in his 30s. And only marriage for both of them. But talking about the long hair, because she had kept her long braid that she cut off when she was going to stop being old country and start being the modern San Francisco woman. And she kept that braid. And, to talk about the wool that she wore when she would work up the hill. So there were 2 hills. There were the hill in the old country where she would put on her black wool dress and her white pinafore, whatever they called the apron, and go to work in a wealthy home in the old country. And then she dressed very similarly here in the Bay Area before they met, before she married. She had just arrived in San Francisco, and she'd go up the hill to the big, beautiful, it's still there, hotel, and go to work there. So similar. And that was just fine. But I didn't know you're not supposed to go, Grandma, the man is your husband and he died. They don't need to know what's going on in your culture. You need to move into their culture. And that was probably my very first experience of doing that, of just going, the man will be back as soon as he's done. Oh, is he doing such and such? I think so. But weren't you telling me about how many rooms you had to clean? And it was my first experience. And yes, it came back to help me in later years. So, Nicole, you did have an opportunity to interact with Kristen about a week ago,
Mhm.
and it looked like you were making notes. Did you know that she had been in international health?
Yeah, I mean, we had a little brief talk, but I always tend to take notes when I'm listening and doing things because I learned. So I did not know that the memories from age 14 to 24 are the most prominent. It might vary some by individual, I'm sure, but I always love to take away little nuggets from every conversation I have. So that's a new one for me. And I love the story. I mean, how could you not remember boarding school in Paris? Like, right? I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. What an experience. Right. So, well, and then the other thing, maybe, I don't know if she learned French when she was over there, but the other thing that I understand a lot of people with dementia do is sometimes they'll revert back to their original, their first language if they grew up in an Italian household or, right. So some of them, so when my mom was in memory care in Maryland for 2 years and I was over there a lot, I learned that one of the women in the community was a French teacher and a Spanish teacher. So every time I saw her, I would say, bonjour, comment ça va? I mean, I'm not fluent in either, but I knew enough. And so she just responded immediately. It was just really fun.
Oh, that is true. So I know about the book.
Yes.
You are also, I can't remember. I'm leveraging my own brain decay here. I don't remember whether it was before we went live this morning or after that you were talking about that you are speaking in New York. I mean, currently, like, are you headed out in a number of days to go and speak at some places back in your old stomping grounds?
Yeah, absolutely. So I lived in New Jersey for 17 years, and I built up quite a network in Princeton and Central New Jersey and New York City. And so I'm leveraging that network. When I self-published the book in October, I went back for a week-long kind of tour of launching the book and hosting a series of events. And then I decided to do another little trip out. And because I have a network, so I can utilize those, collaborate with people. It's always a collaborative effort. So I'm in like 10 days, I'm going to do 3 or 4 events, and then I'm going to be back in New Jersey in May and June doing more. But part of this is the kids want to go back. Some of the kids want to go back and see their friends, and they have connections there for the summer and different things. So it's kind of combination work, book, family. And but I'm very much I'm not trained in it, but I'm very much a networker, a connector, a marketer, and so I'm constantly working on just ways to get the word out and to help people navigate this dementia dynamic, because we were just completely blindsided. Like, my mom was saying these things and doing these things, and her reality was completely off. And I was like, she ran businesses, she was very successful, and I was like, no, what are you not seeing? And I had no idea that was part of dementia, but she was very, she was paranoid. She was in denial. She was just fierce and defiant. And then every time her cognition would kind of come back to a level where she could function, she would just do everything in her power to thwart every effort we were doing. And she would want help, but then she would send me away, and she was embarrassed and shamed. And all the emotions. And then I had family dynamic issues. I was flying back and forth between New Jersey and LA, New Jersey and LA, New Jersey, and it was just, yeah. And then right when my mom was kind of getting not settled, but we were kind of making a plan. And then my dad had surgery for normal pressure hydrocephalus, so I had to go back for that. And then after things got settled with that, and then my stepmother was diagnosed with aphasia, and so I'm getting all the angles and just constantly learning. And so that's why I wrote the book, because I was like, our story is just too crazy that we learned so much from every kind of thing that we had to deal with. And now I'm dealing with Medicare. It's another long story. So book 2 is in the works. So I talk really fast.
You do. Okay. So were you on Steve Gurney's
Twice.
show? There you go. That's, I'm just like, I feel like I've already talked with her, or it was him talking, but that was it. Oh my goodness. So how about Peter Hill? He is in the UK. Is he familiar to any of you?
No.
Peter Hill was on this show a number of weeks ago. So since 2024, I believe that's right. So, or Pete. And his show is called The D Word. And he has a story of why he got to that point, his love of radio. And it is a radio show. And he said, I just popped into words as I sat in front of my computer, and there's a whole story coming to that point, and found out there really wasn't a radio show about dementia, which for most people would say, well, why would you have a radio show about what is in that, until you realize that almost everyone around you has either touched it or it's touched them, just like it's been touching and pounding.
It's going to.
It's going to. And so that's what it, and he just sent me a message yesterday saying, I've been your guest, now you can be my guest. And I was like, well, that's nice, but I don't really have you know what? He's going to ask the questions. So if I have some answers, I'm not going to worry about it. That I don't feel like I have a particular, wait a minute. I spent sometimes years, several times a week with people, and I watched the progression and how it affected me as a hired caregiver. Jean, we kind of have hit the same thing where you're like, I can do a lot more for a lot more people if I put myself out there with whatever skills I've already accrued to this moment, and then combine it with what I see people need. But we loved our people. I remember being so sad that I could not console my person one day. There was just, I pulled all the tricks I had learned and developed out of my bag, and I could not console this extremely intelligent person who was keeping track of their own dementia journey. And there was just a day where they could not, whatever, like climbing a rock wall that's at a slight angle this direction, and they could not get a handhold anywhere. And that brilliant brain was lost, and it was unnerving for them. And I was like, man, I couldn't come up with anything. And we couldn't talk about science. We couldn't talk about this person knew the Bible backwards and forwards. And I thought, we can get into that. And they just couldn't get a finger hold that day. So I thought, I guess I do have something to say about dementia. And he calls it the D word. And definitely all three of you would have interest in knowing what it is that he does, and might want to get on his radar, because he does talk to America, not just Europe. So
yeah, well, I was going to say, when I was writing the book, and one of my good friends, she's the same age as my mom, and so in that 70s age group, and I said, I'm going to call it Diagnosis Dementia. And she's like, well, you can't use dementia in the title. And I'm like, that's exactly why I'm putting dementia in the title. And I talk about that in the book, is where it used to be, no one mentioned cancer. It was this, cancer was the C word. And there's even a TV show called The C Word. And so but now everyone, walks and cancer this and that and treatment. But now dementia is the D word. They don't want to say, because it's fearful and it's shame and it's, so that's exactly why I put dementia in the title, because anybody looking for help, that they know where to go. They know that that's what it's all about. And so that was intentional.
Well, we are nowhere near the end of our time, but to make sure that we get a chance, I'm going to give you can all, it's not like you've got only 2 minutes to say how people can get a hold of you, you've got like 10 minutes to just talk about what they can discover if they go to your contact links. And I'll start just so nobody has to be on the spot at this moment, because maybe you were thinking, oh, maybe 10 minutes from now. So I'm going to bring this one up again, but I'm going to actually show the front. And you really want to go to agingbetterNetwork.com to find this book, because caregiver is the word that most people are used to, and all the artificial intelligence keeps trying to correct you. So when you go to agingbetterNetwork.com, you will see the exact code to be able to go in and see, a smattering of the book and be able to purchase it. I gave this to a person who has been in the gerontology field for maybe 5 decades, and at this point is running their own service for people. And I gave one to her, and she leaves it on her desk. She wrote me a note saying she leaves it on her desk and lets families thumb through it. She goes, it's so great because it's so short. And it gives them courage to go, this is something I can do for myself, because I added a dementia dimension to the book of the grieving that can happen as you grieve the future you're not going to have with this person who's fully alive, but you're not going to experience another trip to some beautiful place, or you're not going to experience the next grandchild the way that you experienced all the other trips and grandchildren or what have you. And so there is a grieving, and what it is it's not a metaphor. It's not meant at all to be an explanation of grieving, but it is to empower you to go ahead and choose a container that makes sense to you, and to put a gift card for yourself, to put in note paper, to put in a fragrance, a sweater, that, or like I have the Afghan, a small Afghan that grandma knitted for our last child. And that is something that I can use when I'm feeling low about anything, about regrieving, anticipatory grieving, family and hospice, the birthday, a particular birthday of someone that you've lost. My other book is a lot bigger, and it's really meant to be taken in doses. And so there's actually 52 different aspects of aging, very general aspects of aging, that I saw during the time when I served in individual homes alongside family members, neighbors, other relatives, specialists, the hairstylist, the favorite grocer, as I served Meals on Wheels, and just those things that people talked about. I was there to assist. I was hired to be a caregiver. And the way that people talked, because I was the only person in the home that was wearing a badge, and the way that people talked about their own aging, and about how it was a year ago before I started working there, and it just everything. So I put it down so that you could go through that book in about a year, and I called it Pre-Act Your Age. So I'm forcing folks in their 40s and 50s to face their future fears. Just like you said, it's the C word. Don't say cancer, because, it's frightful Um, I'm actually kind of nervous that it's going to happen at my next, or I'm going to hear about it next, etc. And then it's like, don't talk about the D word because this is a shameful, stigmatic thing. And we just hide it away. When these things happen, you find a place and you put them in there, and you know that it's all over with. And it's like, wow, I have learned so much more. It shouldn't die with me. All that I learned during my years of caregiving last decade. And that's why I invite all you experts and all of you people who have created solutions and have done things that I wished I had known when a family member said to me, do you know if there's a better way, if there's an item, if do other people take care of these situations? Is there a support group I could become part of? And I wished I'd had all those. So that's why you people come on every week to this show, so that when people contact me, they're like, oh, you're the person who told me about such and such. Just got a question this week. Do you know anyone in this region that you trust? Because I have someone who needs this. And I'm like, I will do my best. I will figure out which of these experts are in that region of the US and give you the best I can find. So, and then a lot of times I go, just go and listen to those, because it's going to speak to your situation, the difficulties and the what ifs and if onlys, and also the, hey, I'm getting old and I'm feeling kind of disregarded. I think people are looking at my outward appearance and saying, it's like, so pre-act your age is my other thing. So I took up lots of time. Who wants to go next? Jean, do you want people to get a hold of you?
Sure.
I got a hold of you. You jumped up and down until I noticed.
Well, I guess the best way to get in touch with me is through either my website or my email. And it's all Jean Neese Copywriting. It's either .com or at gmail.com, whether you want to do website or just email me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm here to help you reach your perfect situation, right? To grow your business, to reach more people, to get your message out, because that's what I really feel called to do, is help people in the senior community to do their best work, whatever that happens to be. I am skilled and trained in every sort of copywriting, whether it's a case study, email. I love doing case studies just because I do love the storytelling involved with that. But blogs are super powerful because that's how you get information out there. So whatever it is that you may need to better serve your community, I want to partner with you to help you do that, so that you and your clients are successful, so that your families feel supported. That's what it's all about, and yeah, so I love to make more new friends. That's
There
why I'm
you
on
go.
LinkedIn, because I really like to meet people and to learn every day. It's important to do. And I really applaud you, Kristen, because I do believe in utilizing the different senses, like especially for seniors. Those that that idea that you have, it's so powerful, and I bet you have some great testimonials from the people that you've helped. So just keep up the great work. That's awesome. And Nicole, dementia is going to explode in the next 20 years. There's so much evidence out there that the numbers are just going to explode. So the information that you have is so critical, and I really hope that everything goes well for you in your travels and with your speaking engagements, because you have so much value to bring to every audience. I just, I hope it goes well. And Christine, thank you so much for bringing us all together. This is wonderful. This is community right here. This is, all the four of
Yeah.
us, these women building each other up and supporting each other. And this is the heart of what I think community is. So I thank you for that. And yeah,
Yeah.
take it away.
Normalizing. Yeah. Normalizing conversing about anything age related, care related, longevity related, just normalizing it, because it was years ago that someone leaned across their table or the table where we were sipping tea, I believe, and said, "But Christine, nobody wants to talk about aging."
Oh,
And less than a month ago, I was at a table here in Independence at the Pink Cafe, and the gentleman I was talking with to just get advice about the community, as far as engaging people, and he said, "You do know that people don't like talking about getting old." It's like, I just want to make sure that you realize that that's not normal. And I'm like, yes. So I am willing to climb that mountain, because there are people who go, "Man, I wished I'd gotten ahead of this. Maybe if I'd gotten a little ahead of this, maybe if I'd been a little more open." And then you hear the people going, "Why isn't there like a school when you turn 45 that you're supposed to attend school and find out that from now until age 90, 100, whatever, these are the things that you should know about? What in the world is durable power of attorney? What are these things? I've been intelligent up till now, and then I feel like I'm getting dumb again because people are aging around me and things are falling apart, and I'm wondering about myself. And it's like, why isn't this up on billboards everywhere? It's like, here. So this is as close as I can get to a billboard. So it's Jean, Jean, for those who are like listening, but not seeing what's been on the screen. Thank you very much to my motivational listener, hubby/producer D. Scott Smith, for taking care of us so this can happen every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. There we go. It's just been Eastern. And it's NEICE. Kristen, who I was like, why can't I find her? I was trying to put an E in where it didn't belong. So with Jean, you got to have the E there. Kristen is KRISTIN Nelson. And Kristen, how would you like to be reached? Because Audivi. Hey. Okay, you taught me. You taught me.
It ought to be. And we all know. Yeah, I mean, I can be reached by email, kwnelson@audivi.world. Audivi Memory Banks has a website that's either Audivi, AUDIVI.world, or we also have audivimemorybanks.com. Both of those go to the same place. And I mean, the website has a lot of information, both like, how does the app work? How would I use it? There's this awesome video of my mom enjoying her memory bank, which Christine, I know I showed you on multiple occasions, and you see her each time acting it out. So it sort of shows you that power of enjoying memories again and again for someone with dementia. I should mention, because of her profound short-term memory loss, every time she saw it, it was like she'd never seen it before. So there's like, talk about the gift that keeps giving. And you talk about like, how do we, we should go back to school so that we can prepare for this final, for this chapter. I often say, we get We lose our hearing, we get a hearing aid, we lose our eyesight, we get glasses. We have this, as you're saying, this, cataclysmic onslaught of memory loss that's, going across all of the world. And we have no similar crutch or a device to help people through that decline. And my dream is that memory banks are part of what people do to prepare for that eventuality of some amount of memory loss, because it can, first of all, serve as that dementia tool to redirect and keep a person grounded. It can help the caregivers. It can introduce the caregivers to who the person was. It can help the grandkids know who their grandmother, grandfather was when they're no longer as verbal or able to articulate the memories. And we don't usually lose our memories in a catastrophic, sudden moment. Like, we do usually have time and symptoms and a diagnosis. So what if we all took advantage of that time to create a memory bank? On my website, I also have a weekly webinar that goes through, foundationally, I talk about Ottavie memory banks being a dementia tool, but it's also really founded on this idea that reminiscing is very therapeutic for all of us, but especially as we age. And Ottavie essentially just provides a platform to do that. There are questions in there. You can answer the questions. You can grab some photos, go through your photos, record the answers. So it's like an activity that anyone can do, whether you're experiencing memory loss or not. It becomes a narrated photo album, and then you can continue to build on it. You can continue to add new memories or just enjoy it. On the website, it also has the linkage information for Ottavie is an app. So the app is available in both the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. It is $19.99 to download it. It's a single charge. There's no ongoing monthly subscription fees, because I feel like memories are a public good that we should honor and protect and save. And you can make the banks public, private, or you can share them with family. So it can become this, if you and a sister download the app, you can create a joint memory bank of your mother or your father and use it together and build on it together. So I invite people to either sign up for the mailing list. Periodically we have sales, but it's $19.99 to download the app. I think that's all my contact information, and that's. And there are webinars. So, if you go to the website, you can join one of the weekly webinars and just learn more about how does Ottavie work and see if you're interested in. Sometimes we give away free downloads and, use that in either community settings or individual settings, or for home health agencies to be able to embed it in their own caregiving practices.
Ottavie is, you're welcome. Ottavie is Latin for?
I heard. Because it is fundamentally a voice platform. It is about recording a person's voice and saving that voice forever, and pairing it with a photo to make it optimized for dementia, because you kind of need to have a multimedia engagement for someone in dementia to be able to follow it. But it's fundamentally about the voice and the power of voice, and how beautiful it is to continue to hear someone's voice, and how it takes you right back to them. You hear somebody's voice, and it's very powerful.
One, it wasn't the only family or home where I heard this, but one person specifically said, I cannot finish a shower anymore because of the just need to find something familiar. And I wrote down in my Pre-Act Your Age book that a person needs to be like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and while you still have your hair, or while you still have your hair color, you need to record yourself just showing something and talking about it and saying reassuring words, and keep the loop going so that your loved one, whether they experience a brain injury or whether they, there's a Parkinson's thing going on or whatever, has that assurance. But what you have is so much deeper embedded in that person. They've been hearing their own voice for years. It's going to stick with them. So instead of somebody putting on a wig and recording themselves so that that person will sit still and go, I feel loved. I see something that's not confusing. I hear words that are reassuring. They're hearing themselves and interacting. And that caregiving family member could get a full shower without going, are you still there? Oh my goodness. Where is this person? What have they gotten into? What's,
So it is
safety. Yeah.
Playing the memory bank back for an individual is a set and go activity. You hit play all, and it will sequentially go through all of the stories. So my mother had over 30 minutes, and I knew once I hit play, she would listen to 30 minutes. I could actually leave the house because I knew she would listen to the whole thing, and not, I mean, anything else, she'd sort of start something and then look up like, what am I doing here? And where, why? I mean, TV didn't hold her attention. None of those things. But her memory bank, I could cook dinner. I could leave the house. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
My friends, I am so sorry, but I'm going to have to bow out a little early. I'm so sorry.
You are busy doing good. Thank you, Jean. I'm so glad.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it was wonderful to meet you all. And I'll be watching you all on LinkedIn.
That's right.
And messaging you and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's Jean again.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too. And Nicole.
Okay, great. Before, I just want to share my love and favorite support network, daughterhood.org. I became connected with Daughterhood through, I bought a friend's book. She was in Princeton, and I bought her book, and in the book was a little bookmark with this quote from daughterhood.org. I'm like, what is daughterhood.org? Well, it's a national support group for daughters, but also spouses and sons and anybody caring for a loved one. And I love it. They are a 501c3 nonprofit network that started 10 years ago, but it's national on Zoom. It's free, and they have what they call circles. And you log on, and some of them are connection circles where you just log on to vent and cry and share and learn and be with people. You touched on it earlier, where we all feel like we're alone, but there's 40 million caregivers out there, and we all feel like we're alone, but we are definitely not alone. So Daughterhood offers a place to connect. There's circles all month long. So it's either a connection circle, or the other circles that are offered are called topic circles, where they focus on a specific topic, whether it be Dementia 101 or Medicare 101 or Grief 101 or navigating the healthcare system or getting your financial documents in order. They had an elder law attorney on last week, sharing knowledge about the DPA and all those documents that terrify everyone. So daughterhood.org I'm part of that team, and it's been so helpful for me to navigate this journey, but also to be a support for people, because I navigate, or I co-lead some of the circles online. So if you're struggling and you just want to connect to a community, I highly recommend daughterhood.org. So just go to the website, go to circles, and sign up for one, and they're offered all month long. So
it feels like you've walked into a living room, and here's a bunch of people sitting around, and someone goes, well, actually, my loved one passed a while back, but it's just nice to be able to gather with you guys again. And right after that, a person said, I just heard the word hospice come out of the doctor's mouth. And I don't even know anything about it. I don't know what I know I'm really emotional right now. And that person was surrounded by some people who are not selling, not advertising, not there for any gain whatsoever. It's not allowed. They were there, and I was able to plug in Barbara Karn's books, BK books, and no one in that room had been introduced to the books on hospice, and they are skinnier than my little book. You can, it can be on a nightstand. And I knew about them because of my years of going in and out of homes and seeing them on a hallway table or a nightstand and going, I need to know more about that. And I did have the blessed opportunity to interview Barbara Carnes because her office reached out and said, hey, don't you just want to have her on your show? And we actually did it as a recording.
Nice.
And she was my hero. And I blabbered for 9 minutes. You know how I can talk. It was much worse that day. And then finally, every time I send it to someone who's asking for information, what is hospice? It's dying, isn't it? And it's like, oh my goodness, there's so much more. There's palliative, there's the reason why she wrote these books and all this. And I go, just fast forward through the first 9 minutes. They are not worth it. But it's like a hero that I had seen for years in a little book. But daughterhood, that is probably where I first met you, because I was exploring daughterhood when I was just getting used to the whole LinkedIn and social media thing. So
yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Barbara Carnes, because there's also Daughterhood, the podcast. So Roseanne Corcoran, who is also in Kitty's movie, Wine, Women, and Dementia. She is part of Daughterhood, but she also is the founder and runs Daughterhood, the podcast. So if you don't even want to go on a Zoom for Daughterhood, you can go to Daughterhood, the podcast, and there's like 50 episodes where she interviews everyone from, MIT physicians to PhDs to grief experts. And Barbara was one of her most recent shows that she just did. She did a show with Barbara. Yeah. So Roseanne did the quote on the cover of my book. It says, if you are looking for a roadmap to dementia care, you found it. So she's my quote on the front of my book. And mine's also very thin. I wanted it to be able to throw it in your purse when you're waiting in the doctor's office. It's all broken down into sections like hospital, grieving, dementia, neurologist, driving, eating, cooking, and it's also interspersed with our juicy story of all the stuff that we went through with my mom. And so if you want a good like soap opera read, it's
drama. Youth. The teen years were hard. Oh, we could talk on so much more. I am so grateful. Kristen, thank you so much for doing the hard work of making a tool that's going to fit into the hand of the person who is going, I guess this falls to me to be there for my person. And also creating at the same time a legacy tool that it's like, I am not going to meet my great-grandchildren. I don't even have grandchildren yet. I'm not going to meet them. But there might be a great-grandchild that's just going to go, I've heard about them, from grandma and from great-grandma, but, whatever. I got it all backwards, from mom. But it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it could help a person to get past that fear about aging and fear about the possibilities of not being able to use your brain like you used to go, but I've got a tool in my toolbox or my tool belt. I've got something to hand to them going, okay, the diagnosis is dementia and it's me. And I've been recording these because I bought Audivi. There we go. Audivi. I bought it and I've already been recording and I can continue to do it. And here is your tool, loved one, that you can hand to me so you can get that shower.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you, Christine, for having me, and Nicole. Good to see you again. Nice to have met Jean.
Yes.
It's great to get a chance to talk with others about all of this and hear about what others are doing. So thank you.
Yay.
Really fun.
It was. It was. Okay. Go forth and be fabulous.
Thank
keep
you.
keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
I'll see you